So now we know that is a slur.
Yes.
It's a slur.
Yes.
And it's a racial slur.
Sure.
Seem to be true that cracker is derived from whip cracker and therefore is...
My position is cracker is a slur, and it's probably okay to say.
Specifically, in this case, we are talking about the word cracker.
Cracker is right now, they're just like, is banning every single one of my mods right now.
Cracker is a racial slur.
Yeah, I mean, we
Unless someone else gets banned for it.
One of my favorite holiday traditions is opening those crackers with your friends and family and finding these teeny tiny little toys inside that you would never ever spend a single second thinking about or buying for yourself. But you end up having a whole lot of fun because they're reminiscent of your youthful days. And you spend quite a few hours thinking, oh yeah, that was kind of fun, wasn't it? Anyway, I personally love them, and sometimes they even have some jokes inside, you know, so I love the cracker. So I thought, how can I pop some holiday crackers with my favorite Thots? And then I thought, well, actually, there are some teeny tiny little bit of drama that I would love to share with you. So, since I've only been around for very recently, I thought, maybe I should touch on some dramas that I haven't had the time or opportunity to cover yet, or things that were so teeny and tiny that you can't make an entire video out of them. You know, essentially, we pop the cracker together, we look at what's inside, and then we laugh a little and we keep it pushing. So, join me as we open up crackers and celebrate the holidays and end of the year in 2021. And I thank you as my audience for being here and celebrating this holiday with me. In the spirit of the holiday, please remember not to send any hate or harassment or bullying to anybody mentioned in this video, please and thank you.
Trisha was upset because Ethan just hired a new employee and didn't get a say in who Ethan hired. Now, Ethan's argument was that why should he have to run it by Trisha, who he hires for H3 Productions? Frenemies is a podcast under H3 Productions, and his team that works with him has been with him forever. They're family and friends of Ethan, and he feels like just because Trisha is the talent for Frenemies doesn't mean they should get a say in who he hires for his production company. Then they start to talk about the money. It seems like whenever Trisha and Ethan get into a disagreement, the money issue is always brought up. Now, everyone on Twitter is saying that Trisha isn't mad about money, but when it's constantly brought up, what do you think people are gonna think?
5%. 5%. Do you realize how much 5% was of our last one? That should be enough.
Finally, Trisha pleads with Ethan to just end the podcast so they can leave and go home. Trisha kept saying to Ethan, we gotta stop for real. You could just tell that Trisha was getting noticeably upset. Now, this video wasn't clickbait. Trisha actually announced that they'll be stepping down from Frenemies.
So yes, the first cracker I want to open is the coldest of tea, and that is the Frenemies breakup. Okay, so I know everybody has chosen a side here. Either you're saying that, well, Ethan should have listened to Trisha when they said they wanted to stop the show and essentially could have been more reasonable behind the scenes with regards to actual payments and ideas being exchanged. On the other hand, you could say, well, any kind of goodwill that Trisha had was immediately destroyed post the show and by criticizing the actual staff as if they had any kind of say in this and making them targets of harassment in the fan base. However, none of that, not even slightly, is interesting to me at all. As somebody who doesn't care for either individual in the story, I find this on a macro level to be fucking fascinating. Look at it like this. Ethan had the show, H3 Productions, which was fucking fantastic, and one of the final shows that he did on that before the H3 podcast took over completely as the brand. One of the final great things that H3 Productions did was to make this video on Photoshop bitches that he essentially called out, saying that, okay, well, this is not how they look IRL, and Trisha Paytas was one of the featured characters, even in the thumbnail, and Ethan called Trisha a fucking whale and many other ugly things. So I think what happened here's my conspiracy theory. I think Trisha looked at this and was like, okay, Ethan, You called me a whale. I will take every single thing that you love and hold dear to you, and I will destroy it in your face, and I will make your public embarrassment so fucking shameful that Keemstar couldn't even dare touch this. And this is what they did. Decided to, become literal frenemies, start a podcast.
Well, my friends, here we are. They said it would never happen. Me and Trisha making a podcast, and frankly, I thought they were right.
Publicly humiliate Ethan, destroy the income revenue, which I mean was a fucking big deal. Anybody can look at that numbers and say. Then start dating Hila's brother on the sideline so that family destruction is inevitable, and throw some wild ass allegations on the H3 podcast, just in case somebody's getting sued, it's going to be the owner of the H3 podcast. And then also to top it all off, close off the section, went on a podcast with Keemstar. I think this is some big brain energy. I think Trisha pulled out all the stops, and that is the battle that I'm interested in, i.e. who won. Because this is actually the greatest epic rap battle of history, and I would love to know, who do you think fucking won this game? Because from where I'm standing, Ethan's dick still doesn't work.
I have mental illness problems too. Like, that never, she doesn't seem to really give any credence to that. Like, I have depression, I'm medicated for that shit, 20 milligrams Lexapro every fucking day. My dick feels like a piece of wood.
And he's gotten even fatter. And on the other side, Trisha's having a meltdown on Maine.
Today is the final straw, and I'm so scared, and I'm literally shaking.
And it's fucking cringe, bitch. So yeah, who do you think won? I think both of them deserve each other, and I think this was a fanfare for the year, and we should commemorate it as such. Truly, here's a fucking toast to that.
NFTs, alright? NFTs are this new hot thing on the market that's great for artists, I would say, especially for those who want to have ownerships and royalties, because NFTs are great for that. And a lot of people have brought up that NFTs are harmful for the environment, which there's a lot of industries that are bad for the carbon footprint, but I wanted to really look into NFTs because, quite honestly, I don't understand the appeal too hard. I'm one of those users that right-clicks on an image, saves it, and keeps it forever on their phone. So NFTs are an interesting trend, to the point where they've actually been selling for millions upon millions of dollars. Is that really worth $2.9 million? Well, that's really up to you, audience. Do you believe this JPEG is worth $2.9 million? I don't know. But what this means is this person officially owns this digital asset, meaning that if I right-click or if I just download this, for instance, I just use snipping tool to capture it, I don't own this. See, anybody could take a photo of this and say, I own it. You don't own it, because this person owns the NFT, the non-fungible token, the actual piece that signifies they're the original official holder of this specific digital art piece, okay? This digital asset. That's what we're going with.
Would it even be 2021 if an NFT was not in your Christmas cracker? I think not. Okay, so NFTs have been getting a pretty bad rep for what I believe, and clearly what Murar believe, to be valid reasons, i.e. it doesn't actually make sense. Why would you want an NFT? Why would you spend that amount of money? It doesn't make a lot of sense because, again, you can just, save. Now, here's the thing, though. I love being cheap. I love being cheap. I get a sense of joy out of being cheap. I love saying that I could have saved $5, but I ended up saving $10 because yes, I got that chutzpah. I'm choosing though to approach these NFTs as a non-hater and rather meet in the middle and say something along the lines of, okay, I don't get it, but you're allowed to get it. You are allowed to. Here's an example of how I also approach this. I do not own makeup. Well, I own one lipstick somewhere. My mother bought it for me once. She wanted me to look some type of way. It did not last, clearly. It's too late in life for me to figure out how makeup works, so I just all in all abandoned the idea. But I understand why somebody else would buy it. My sister is very much into makeup. She likes makeup. She has a lot of it. Can't relate, very literally. I will never go to her and tell her that she should stop buying makeup, even though I don't get it and I can't relate. So that's kind of how I'm approaching this NFT thing. And I know the other side of this big ass debate is how bad it is for the environment. And the thing is you're gonna have to prove to me that everything else we're doing is not bad for the environment. I mean, come on, this is just hating for the sake of hating. And believe you me, I am petty like that. I get it. I'm 100% on the train for that, but this is just one of those things where I think fools should be allowed to be separated from their money. And if you want to buy $1 million worth of NFTs, then power to you, sir, ma'am, anybody else. That is well within your rights, and god damn it, you are free to waste your money in any god-given way that you choose. I bestow that upon you. That's my NFT hot take.
Eugenia Cooney is a YouTube creator with about 2.2 million subscribers, and recently she's also started live streaming on Twitch pretty regularly, and she's somebody who has been a source of contention here on YouTube. A lot of people have discussed her for obvious reasons. Eugenia is very skinny, probably too skinny, probably so skinny that it's very unhealthy for her. Whatever. So with this understanding of my mindset, I hope you can imagine the absolute horror I felt when I saw this petition on Twitter today to remove Eugenia Cooney from YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter. And here's the thing, I think the people behind this petition mean well. I just don't think they are factually correct in what they're doing here. They basically say due to her eating disorder and the fact that she hasn't gotten any help, they are asking YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram to step in and to take an active role in temporarily removing her from those platforms while she receives the help that she needs. And I guess they are under the impression that a weekend in a rehab facility or a month in a rehab facility is just going to fix her. But that's just not factually correct.
So we all know that amongst the Eugenia Cooney discourse, a large part of it has been spent around this idea of should her content be restricted in any kind of way? Should she be banned from the platform? Should she be forced to go to some kind of a facility, centrum, rehab, whatever you want to call it? Or should her content just be purely adulterated? Well, one of the interesting things of 2021 was an actual petition that circulated and garnered a lot of attention because people were essentially bringing into the public space somebody else's mental disorder and what limitations they should have on society. Now the thing is where this debate actually gets interesting is not this idea of the mental illness, but to what extent is your mental illness hindering you from doing what you want to do. So one of the things that I definitely harped on in my arguments in the past videos that I've made was saying, for example, that if Ribzilla believes that his TBI prevents him from doing a good enough job on YouTube so that he cannot be held accountable, then therefore by his own clarification he should not be allowed to make these videos because he's hurting people. So the debate is actually whether or not Eugenia's content is hurting people, and that's actually I think where it's interesting. So if Eugenia was exactly the same person living in exactly the same condition, presenting and acting the same way, but with the exception of presenting also pro-Anna content, i.e. glamorizing or teaching or something to that effect her disorder, then you might have a chance at convincing me that you have a fucking point in this matter. But at this point, from what we as viewers can experience and see, this is just a girl trying to girl, you know, and telling her that one of the joys that she gets out of life, one of the things that fulfills her, one of the reasons that she wakes up when she's clearly unwell enough to actually cause harm and distress on her own body, just seems to me like not only a raw fucking deal, but it seems to me like we might be the reason why bad things happen to good people. So what I'm saying essentially is that let the girl get the smallest amount of pleasure out of things that she wanted to, since she's not actually in a clearly definable way actually causing harm in the world. I think she's just living her truth and she should be allowed to, and I'm here for it. Eugenia, good luck to you. Hope you get well soon. Hope you do you, whatever that means, and your mental health is none of our business at all. Unless you make it our business, we have no say, we have no place. You do you. That's my entire Eugenia take. Take down the fucking petition. We've got serious things in this world to worry about. I don't know where you get the time to worry about Eugenia. Seriously.
Lost the will to live. This has to easily be the most fucked up video I think I'm ever going to make. Chris Chan has just been a figure of the internet for a while, and there's so many rabbit holes you can go down, but this latest one, holy shit. Well, Chris decided to brag, apparently, allegedly, because he, as he likes to say, rumped in the hay with his mum. Apparently he had sex with his mum, who has dementia.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
the actual fuckity fuck?
Would it even be Christmas if we didn't have a good wholesome family story somewhere in the middle? Okay, listen, this is by far the most controversial story of this year. So if you were thinking maybe Gabby Hanna or Trisha, no, you're 100% wrong. This is it. This is the story. I don't think anybody is on the opposite side of the argument as to whether or not this is morally okay in any way, shape, or form. There are just so many levels on which this makes you go, oh no, and another one, oh no, right? So I think everybody can agree that this is just a tragic event that we all saw. Unfortunately, we all had to live through collectively, and it lives in internet PTSD in some way. However, what I did find interesting in this story, i.e. worth discussion, because every single part of this is interesting, but what I did find fascinating in the debate of it all was actually this discussion of pronouns, right? Because there's always been a large debate around whether or not Christine Chandler is actually Chris Chan, but, you know, by own admission, trying to act like a woman in order to get lesbians, i.e. increase prospects of sexual partners, right? That was a debate. A lot of people's immediate reaction to the story was actually misgendering Christine on purpose by referring to her or they as a he. And I found that to be a very, very interesting point, because the counter argument was only that it doesn't matter whether you intend to disrespect Christine based on her actions towards her mother, you are in effect causing harm to the entire LGBT community, right? Specifically, you are being anti-trans. And that part I found interesting, because I don't even think we reached a conclusion as a community, which I know we rarely do, but there seems to be some larger consensus or shift in the narrative or something that we take a mental note of in future cases that keeps recurring. But this was so traumatizing, the whole ass story, that it seems like we never actually got to a point where we're like, oh, okay, this is the main narrative, this is what we're saying here, and granted, whatever your stance on pronouns is probably still going to be the same after what happened with Christine, but just the fact that they themselves said, well, I'm doing this specifically because I want to enter the lesbian market. And whether or not somebody identifies male or female and then chooses their pronouns, and considering the fact that they might not understand what that should mean, right? And the only reason I'm bringing this question up because that part of the debate still seems to be pretty largely up in the air. It seemed like everybody said their set and, you know, still was a little bit nauseous from the whole story and kind of backed off because, come on, god damn it, there were so many more pressing issues in the story. But if you have any thoughts about it, please let me know. I would love to open that discussion. Not that we should change each other's mind, just I want to hear what you're thinking. Leave it in the comments, please and thank you. And now the final cracker that we're gonna open. Did you think this video title was entirely clickbait? Cracker please. This was by far the most fun debate of the entire 2021. Prove me wrong. Drop it. Okay, and this is since actually the reason is because nobody thinks that cracker is an offensive term. Nobody in this debate. So if you're not aware of what each side here represents, basically this can pretty much be summarized between Hassan versus Vosh. So essentially, okay, firstly, nobody thinks that cracker is an offensive term to throw at white people. It does have racial connotations and it does have a derogatory intention. That is to be said. Now, here's what's interesting. So Hassan and his mods were banned off of Twitch after they were intentionally calling white people crackers. So it wasn't just dropping the slang, it was trying to specifically refer it. Now his conclusion was that this is not a slur, so it's not the same as the N-word, so it should not be punished like it is a slur, right? And Twitch said, nope, we stand by with our consistency, and for that reason, you're banned. Vosh responded, however, and said instead that yes, it is actually a slur. He disagrees with Hassan. It is a slur by definition, but it doesn't mean that for that reason it's offensive. Or as he rather stated it,
cracker is a racial slur. It is. It absolutely is. 100% is. Slur doesn't have some arbitrary threshold of social weight behind it in order to define itself. Like, listen, okay? Maybe some slurs are okay. Do you ever think about that? See, this is a fundamentally, I think it's a very liberal notion, okay? The idea that you
gatekeep a kind of categorical bias behind institutional pressure. It's like those people who say you can't be racist against white people. Yeah, you can. You can't be systemically racist against white people. That's the critical difference. Can you be prejudiced against white people based along racial lines? Yeah, obviously. Definitionally, of course you can. But it's not reinforced by the big systemic stuff, which is, of course, like the real hurt. I'm looking again at the Twitch chat. Is Karen a slur then? Yes. Literally, yeah. Yes, Karen is a heavily gendered term. Yeah. Accept it. Be a Chad. Is Karen a slur? Yes. And I will use it. Yeah, go for it. Is Cracker a slur? Yeah, and I'll use it. Own that.
So, with my ill-informed opinion, I tend to agree with Vosh here. I think you can say something is a slur by definition, how it acts, what it represents, and what it means, but also say, yeah, it's not offensive, right? And that has a lot to do with where cultures are at. So, in South Africa, where I'm at, our version of the N-word is not even said by people who are quote-unquote claiming the word, or even, I can't think of a single rap song or anything that includes our version of the N-word, because it's still so new, so fresh, that when anybody is saying our version of that word, it 100% undeniably is supposed to be racist. That is clearly the intention. So we're not even at that level. This discussion has never ever been in my culture, so watching it play out online, so fucking interesting, so fascinating. So if you are cracker identifying, please in the comments let me know why you are butthurt or not, and tell me why I should care. But you should also know that some terms will be filtered through the spam, so if your comment immediately disappears, maybe rephrase it. And that's been our final cracker. Well, I hope you enjoyed these small holiday crackers with me. We actually had a fun year online now that I think about it. Well, happy holidays y'all, stay safe, keep the drama light, and don't follow my lead, since you know I'm just a thought with an opinion and I don't know shit about fuck. Peace!